Namaste. Good afternoon and a warm welcome to everyone. On behalf of our entire team of ELTAI Chapter Raipur, I extend our sincere apologies for the inconvenience caused to all of you due to a major technical error yesterday, even after we had taken care of all the glitches that could happen. As we all know, man proposes, God disposes. On this day of God, that's a Sunday, I have been given the honor of hosting today's webinar. Initially, when we started, this webinar was supposed to be a local event, but now it's turned into a global event. It gives us immense pleasure that we have received overwhelming response from participants from all over the world. This is indeed very encouraging for us that our esteemed speakers for today will be heard throughout the world. The overall theme for this webinar is Synthesizing Language and Literature in the Classroom. We are going to take you first to experience some magic of ballads in language teaching, for which we have the lady with the magic wand, Dr. Chumki Biswas. Mind you, to enter her class, you need to have three very important things with you. Firstly, a notebook, copy, and a pen or pencil to write and go through the wondrous activities is going to take us through. No magic varnishing ink pens, mind you. Secondly, your earphones or headphones for the activities with secret magic spells only you can listen to and be the first one to guess the answers. I won't really reveal anymore or Dr. Biswas will turn me into a frog. Thirdly, a cup or flask of coffee or tea. You are going to be stuck with magic for the 2 sessions we have got lined up ahead. By the time the magic spell of the first session starts to lose its power, you will get to listen to our most renowned and learned speaker, Dr. Chitrandankar, and I'm fortunate that Sir was the co-guide for my doctorate in English literature. He will cast his spell about the nuances of English language. Without much ado, I welcome you all once again to be enchanted and go back with lots of charms that you would be collecting from this web of magic in the air. I would like to call upon Dr. Shilpi Acharya, the president of ELTAI Raipur Chapter. She will enlighten us about the magical work that ELTAI Raipur Chapter is doing. Over to you, Shilpi ma'am.
Thank you, Simran. I'm happy to be a part of ELTAI Raipur Chapter, and it's truly an honor for me to introduce ELTAI Raipur Chapter, the seed of which was sown in the year 2011. Right from its formation, it has grown leaps and bounds in terms of reaching out to the English teachers of Raipur and conducting events of great magnitude. ELTAI Raipur Chapter aims at becoming a catalyst, a facilitator, and a trendsetter in spreading English literacy among the students and teachers of the region, and thereby strive to promote professional excellence among its members in all possible ways. To align with its vision, ELTAI Raipur Chapter started its journey from the year 2012 and has conducted a series of workshops, seminars, conferences, lecture series, and so many such activities, the list of which goes on. I have picked up just a few activities as we would really fall short of time if I talk about all of them. In these events of Raipur chapter on English language teaching, we had Dr. Chumki Vishwas as resource person. Let me tell you, she is with us as resource person for the third time on demand by our participants. In this series, we had Ms. Meeta, Ms. Mala Palani as resource person from Pearson and Oxford University Press. In the year 2017, Dr. J.B. Singh Memorial Lecture Series were introduced under the aegis of ELTAI Raipur Chapter and is still being conducted successfully every year. Till now, we had conducted 4 Dr. J.B. Singh lecture series and renowned professors like Dr. Gautam Ghoshal from Vishwavati Vishwavidyalaya Shantiniketan, Dr. S.Z.H. Abidi, former professor and head Lucknow University, Dr. Chitrandankar, former professor and head Department of Literature and Languages, Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, Dr. B.K. Tripathi, professor and head Sambalpur University, graced the occasion with their presence as resource person. This webinar is the second event of 2020, and in spite of the existing crisis of the pandemic, the number of registrations that ranges more than 1300 itself speaks of the magnitude of the events conducted by ELTAI Raipur Chapter. Under the able guidance of senior professors and a strong team of all the enthusiastic members, I'm sure that ELTAI Raipur chapter will reach great heights. Thank you. Now, without taking much of your time, I would like to invite our patron of ELTAI Raipur chapter, Dr. Savita Singh, to introduce the resource person of the day and start the most awaited session. Over to you, ma'am.
Salutations to all the netizens present on this virtual platform today. The sentiments I express here are on behalf of all the members of the ELTAI Raipur chapter, co-conveners Dr. Shashank Gupta and Dr. Shilpi Bhattacharya, and our technical team. I sincerely apologize for the inconvenience caused to all of you yesterday. I feel proud to state that we have more than 1300 registered participants from India and different parts of the world from 11 other countries. We have participants from the USA, Germany, Vietnam, Algeria, Lebanon, Turkey, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Maldives, Qatar, and Dubai. To all the international participants, I proffer a traditional Indian pranam and namaskar. And closer home, Jai Johar from Raipur, Chhattisgarh, the tribal heart of India. Language is the vehicle of thought and expression. It is, and the language of English is empowering and transformative. Literature is a repository of all human knowledge, extending even beyond recorded history. It helps in getting insights into life and the human condition. It gives us a glimpse of other cultures and people, thus transcending time and space. Literature fuels the imagination and provokes joyful thoughts. The theme of this webinar is Synthesizing Language and Literature in the Classroom. I can assure you that all of you shall be enriched for life by the experience we offer you today. I feel honored and delighted to introduce to you the charming and charismatic Dr. Chumki Biswas, the first resource person today. A doctorate in ELT, she is a member of the Board of Studies, Mumbai University. Equipped with a rich experience of over 18 years, she has carved a niche for herself in the field of ELT. She is closely associated with the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Oxford University Press, IMS for CAT and GMAT, and Prometrics, Virginia, USA. Her areas of expertise are ELT, soft skills, business communication, and organizational behavior. She has conducted more than 400 workshops and training programs. Her talk today is on the magic of folk ballads in the classroom. I guarantee that she is going to enthrall you as she takes you on a wonderful, memorable journey in the next hour. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Biswas.
Good afternoon to all my viewers here. Thank you, Dr. Savita Singh, for that lovely and warm introduction. I'm glad it was mercifully short, and I think the audience will be very glad too. Now, the last time I had a webinar, I spoke on a very grave topic like empirical research. And here I am again today, but the purpose of this webinar today is very different from what it was last time. So what I'll do is first establish the purpose. Towards that, I'm going to share my screen. Just give me a few seconds. Okay, I would like a confirmation whether my screen is visible or not.
Yes, ma'am, your screen is visible.
Okay, thank you so much. So today I'm going to talk about first the challenge that we educators are facing. And for that, I will go to the first point. Now, when we're talking about the English language, the way I see it, it has two aspects to it. The first part is teaching the language itself. And then once the learners are proficient enough in the language, then we move towards teaching them how to appreciate good literary works in the English language. Now, teaching literature in the classroom is mostly lecture-based, but when we talk about the language classroom, gone are the times when we were dependent on rote learning. We did endless exercises from Wren and Martin. We have understood the benefits of an activity-based classroom where you give learners activities to do. And while engaging in those activities, they are able to learn the language better and in a smoother manner. So things were going great for both the literature teachers and the language teachers, but then unfortunately, the COVID virus made an appearance and terrorized us. Now, as a result, what happened is we had to take all our teaching to an online platform. Now, teaching face-to-face is quite a challenge. So imagine how much more challenging it is to teach online. But this challenge gets compounded multifold when you are expected to do activities online, because the possibility of interacting with the learners is very difficult when you are on an online platform. So the main purpose of today's webinar is to show you how to modify the existing tasks that we have in language teaching so that they become suitable for delivery on an online mode. At this point, I would like to say that there are a lot of words like computer assisted language teaching, short form is CALL. Now, what we are basically going to do today is actually understand how the computer can assist us in doing activities in the classroom. So these activities, once we modify them, should be as effective as they were while we were delivering face-to-face. Now, the second part of the second purpose of today's webinar is to bridge a gap. Now, you will be asking me, what gap am I talking about? So the gap is between a literature and a language. Now, whenever I talk of literature and language, I am reminded of the famous ballad by Rudyard Kipling, where he said, "The East is East and the West is West, and never shall the twain meet." Now, I have heard endless debates among teachers of literature and language about who is doing the more important job. Now, instead of looking at ourselves as the two opposite banks of a river, what we should focus on is basically the river itself, because to me, the English language is the river, and our job as educators is to take that river to anybody who loves that language and wants to learn it. So when I talk about literature, if I define it in my own words, I would call it food for the soul. But when I come to language, I realize that because of the English language, I'm able to do a lot of my day-to-day activities. I was able to clear my first job interview. I was able to get a job, and I'm able to deliver my words to my students. So in short, if I put it simply, the English language has helped me to earn my bread and butter. So I call it the food for the body. Now, I'm both a language trainer, and at times I also teach literature. So when I'm in the language teaching mode and when I have the language teacher's hat on, I tend to think from my brain. So I most probably would say something like, get to the point. But at times when I'm teaching literature, I tend to think from my heart. So maybe I'll tell my students that stop and do smell the roses. So my endeavor for today's webinar is to take the soul-stirring aspect of literature and weave it into the fabric of language activities that we can deliver in the classroom in a more composite way, so that these activities are not only fruitful, but they are also more enjoyable in nature. Now, coming to the next part of how this webinar is going to help you. Now, this webinar is going to be of use to you if you look at it from the correct or the right perspective. If you judge the contents of this webinar from the eyes of a domain expert, you might not find it so useful. For example, if you look at it from the eyes of a ELT expert or a literature expert, then this will not be all that fruitful. However, if you look at this webinar from the eyes of a language learner, specifically the eyes of an online language learner, then you will find that the activities that I'm going to do are not only beneficial, but it will also be fun, and you will enjoy the session a lot more. Now, having established the background, I'm going to go to the topic of my webinar today, that is the magic of folk ballads in language teaching. Now, I want to take the magic of literary works, specifically folk ballads, and I want to inject it into the activities that we can do in a language teaching classroom. So I'll talk a little bit about my background. I grew up on a diet of comic books and lots of old English songs. Now, thanks to my family's love for both, I became fluent in English at a very early age because I grew up on a rich diet of not only reading comic books, but also listening to a lot of English songs. Now, to all the songs that I have heard in my life, I realized that the ballad is the most suitable for what I have in my mind today. I could have chosen different genres of songs, but I decided to select the ballad. Now, there are many reasons for it. The first being that a ballad has a story to tell. Now, who doesn't love a story? Everyone in this world loves a story, because a story has the capability of reaching out to everyone. It can mend broken souls, it can motivate you, and it can change your life. So yes, that is why that is one of the main reasons I have settled down on a ballad. Next thing is that the language of a ballad is very simple. So for new language learners, to comprehend the words of a ballad is going to be very, very easy. And a ballad is mostly composed in verses of 4 lines, very short verses. So that also adds on to the ease of comprehension. The next point is that a ballad is generally sung to very few instruments. It is accompanied by very few instruments. So the focus is not on the music, which can be distracting for new learners. The focus is more on the words. So I feel that a ballad suffices very well for the purpose of language teaching. Now, a ballad is also sung very, very slowly, which gives the learners ample time to listen to the words and comprehend the meaning behind the words. Now, I also chose a ballad because a ballad has a zing to it. It is spiced up because of three factors. The first is that we have memorable characters in the ballads that we listen to, and we can always associate better when there are characters in a song or a story. The second aspect of a ballad is that it comes with a crisis or a conflict, just like any other short story. But as human beings, we thrive on looking at the ending of a crisis. We thrive on reaching a satisfactory end because it has a cathartic effect on us. Hence, a ballad is very, very suitable for the purpose that I have in mind today, as opposed to other kinds of songs. Now, the next part I'll talk about is that why did I select the song of all types of literary genres? I could have easily settled down on a poem or essay, a story, but I decided to select a song because, again, there are many reasons why a song is very, very effective. The first one is that a song is very emotive in nature. Like throughout the day, you might be going through different mood swings. You might be depressed, you might be angry, you might be restless. But the moment you listen to a good song, it manages to lift up your senses. It manages to release all the pent up emotions, and you end up feeling very happy after listening to a good song. So, the point I'm trying to make is no matter what is the starting point, after you listen to a song, you will be happy, and that is a guarantee. Next is songs that I'm going to use, the videos that I'm going to use today are dually coded. That means you will not only be able to listen to the words of a song, but you will also be able to read the lyrics on the screen. So you are getting support from two sides. You're able to listen and understand, and that is added on to the fact that you are going to be able to read the words of the song. So this is dual coding. And because it is dually coded, it is much easier for a new language learner who is struggling to learn the language to comprehend it in a much easier way. Now, coming from easy comprehension, I'm going to the next point is where it is easier to retain what you understand if you are able to comprehend in the first place. So songs are more retentive, and ballads especially are even more retentive because it has a story to tell. And anyway, it is easier for everyone to remember a story. We never forget a story. Next is, a song is a refreshing change from teacher talk. Now, imagine in the current situation, a new language learner might have to sit through 4 lectures, and listening to the teacher talk continuously can get quite tedious. So if you intersperse your lecture with a song once in a while, it will make for a refreshing change. The second purpose to using a song in the classroom is that most of us English teachers from countries which are maybe not native speakers, we ourselves are not native speakers of English. So it makes good sense to expose the listeners to a variety of native English so that they can understand the nuances of native English. Next is songs are easily available online. You don't have to go hunting high and low, to find a good song that you can use in the classroom. And most importantly, most of the songs that are available online comes, free in the sense that you do not have to end up paying a lot of money for this material. And I would like to make a point here that if you use songs from the YouTube for teaching purpose, I don't think we are really violating copyright issues. So the next part I'm going to talk about is what makes a good language learner? What is the magic mantra behind a good language learner? Now, a person can become proficient in a language if they have mastery over 4 sub-skills. I'll take you through each one of these sub-skills. The first one being your listening skill. Now, if you're able to listen and understand language, that is the starting point of learning any language. At this point, I would like to draw your attention to two words, receptive skills and productive skills. Now, listening is a receptive skill because you're listening to words, you're comprehending it, so it's receptive in nature. On the other hand, if I'm talking about speaking skills, in speaking skills, what you do is you reach down into existing reserve of words, you reach down into your existing proficiency in grammar, and you construct something and then you produce it. So hence it is known as a productive skill. After that, if we go to reading skills, again, you will see that reading is a receptive skill because you're reading the words and trying to comprehend it. And the last of these four sub-skills is a writing skill. The writing skill, again, is a productive skill. Now, a good language learner, in a nutshell, should have mastery over all these four sub-skills, and the acronym for this is LSRW skills. Now, you will notice that I have marked the listening skills and the reading skill as receptive, and I've marked them in red color. That is because these are the two activities that you will be able to do today, even though you are on a different platform. However, for the productive skills like speaking and writing, you will not be able to do these activities because you're on a different platform. So what I have planned is I will conduct a demo on Zoom itself so that you can see how you can conduct these activities in real time in your classroom. Now, the second aspect of a good language learner, these are related to the LSRW skills, is that you should have a good range of vocabulary. So when you are listening to a new song, the possibility of you picking up a few words here and there is also there. Next is neutral pronunciation and enunciation. Most of us who are from non-native speaking countries, we generally tend to fashion our words on how we hear our teachers speak or how we hear our parents or friends speak. But if you listen to English songs, then you have the possibility of modeling your pronunciation and enunciation on those of native speakers. Now, the last aspect of a good language learner is to have knowledge of grammar. Now, please note that I have written in brackets acquired implicitly, which means that passé is the time when you used to use the traditional method of teaching grammar through written exercises, through practice drills. Grammar is supposed to be acquired implicitly, without having been taught. If you are indulging in the four sub-skills, you automatically acquire good grammar. And the way you acquire it is pretty easy, and it is not very taxing to the new learner. Now, this is the background that I had to establish for today's activity. Now, I will go to how I have planned to take this day forward. Now, I have selected 4 ballads, 4 songs, and I'm going to use these 4 songs to show you each of the 4 skills. That means the first song I'll be using to do a listening activity, the second song for speaking, the third for reading, and the 4th song for writing skills. I've also chosen 4 songs to demonstrate to you how these activities can be modified so that they're suitable for online delivery. And the next purpose that I'm going to talk about is, since you're going to be doing these activities today in the here and now, you will be able to understand how to actually conduct them in the classroom on an online mode. Next is the 4 songs that I have picked up. I spent days selecting these songs because I wanted these songs to have a uniform theme. And in today's case, the songs that I've selected all revolve around the parent-child relationship, which is something I think we can all relate to. The second thing is that all the songs and all the activities that I'm going to do today will be uniform in terms of duration. That means I will take around 8 to 10 minutes to conduct each of these activities. And the last and the most important is that if you catch on to the delivery style of one activity, then you will be able to apply the same know-how for the remaining 3 activities. So same goes with the language learner. once you conduct one activity, they know the flow and the pattern of it, they will understand and quickly catch on to it, and they will be able to do it with a lot of ease. So now that I've established the background for today's webinar, how it's going to benefit you, and why I have chosen a ballad and how I plan to go ahead, I will go out of my slide, and first I would start with a song for a listening comprehension activity. So let me stop sharing my screen. Okay, now before I play the song, I want you to grab your notebook and I want you to write down the numbers 1 to 12 here in a vertical line. And what I'll be doing is I'll play a song. You will not only be able to listen to it, but you'll also be able to read the lyrics. Now, when you're reading the lyrics, you will note that there are blanks marked with serial numbers. So your job today is very, very simple. You basically have to listen, and the moment you know that the blank is coming up, you listen more carefully, and the moment you hear the word which goes into the blank, you simply note it down in your notebook. You note down the word against the number that is marked against the blank. Okay, this is how we go. Now, I know that you will take some time to write down the numbers. So in the meanwhile, I just set up about playing the song. Now, while I'm sharing my screen, I'm going to play the song. I will not start without warning. I will first say 3, 2, 1, go, and then only I will press the play button. So while you're writing down the numbers, let me just share my screen. Okay, I need a confirmation from my team. Could you listen to the audio and also see the screen?
Yes, madam, it is visible.
Okay, fine. So now I will do the countdown and then I'll start. Please settle down, otherwise you will miss the blanks because I'm going to be able to play the song only once. The possibility of repeating will not be there today. So here I go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, now that I have, just a moment. Now that I have played the song for you, and I'm sure you've written down your answers, I will flash the answers now. Please check and see how many of them you have got correct, and then you can judge for yourself whether you found this listening comprehension activity useful or not. So here I'm going to show you the answers now. I will wait for a minute for you to cross-check with the answers that I've given out. I can see on the YouTube chat box, people are giving out their scores. Somebody scored 11 on 12. That's very sweet of you to actually share your answer score. So I think that is ample time for the audience to check their answers. So now I will. Okay, so at this point, I would like to mention a fact. I'm not going to show you anything new. It's not like you haven't been using songs, and it's not like you haven't been using fill in the blanks as an interesting activity. But the trick is that I made this video with the blanks inserted in it. So what I did was, first I made PPT slides, and then I superimposed the song. Okay, I sync the song with the words so that it is deliverable online. See, at today's point, you won't be able to give hard copies to the students. So the trick from this activity is to learn how to convert your fill in the blanks in a video form with the song so that the students can simply look at it and then note down their answers. Now, we don't make things very complicated, online. See, I could have easily made a Google quiz and send it to my audience like in the last webinars. But the problem is, if you have a soft copy, you will not have enough time to listen to the word and then type out your answer in the soft copy. So hence, you have to simply use a notebook and allow the learners to note down their answers. And once you flash the answers, they can calculate for themselves how much they're scoring. So the idea is not to complicate things, but the idea is just to modify them so that we can do it with the same ease as we were doing these activities when we were meeting the students face to face. So now that we are done with the first activity, I'll move on to the second skill. If you remember the sequence, it is LSRW. So now I'm going to play you a song and I'll show you how we're going to use it to encourage students to speak up in the classroom. Okay, so I will share my screen again and I will take you to the next song. Okay, now before I start the song, I would like to say something. Now, this song was written by Harry Chapin's wife. She was pregnant for the first time. And unfortunately, when she had the baby, he was not around because he was busy traveling around the world recording songs. So when he came back, he was very, contrite about the fact that he missed a wonderful moment in his life, and hence he took the lyrics and he put music to it. So I'm sure you're going to enjoy the song with this little background. Now, before I start, I will again ask confirmation whether you can hear it, and I will do the same thing. Sir, is it visible, and could you hear the sound?
Yes, madam, it is visible, and we are waiting for audio.
Okay, I didn't play it. Let me. So Here I go, the same procedure. I'm going to say 3, 2, 1. Okay, so now that you have listened to the song, I think that little background help of how regretful he was for what he couldn't do for his son, and then he said that I must put music to this song, and it became very, very popular, and it's an all-time classic. It's an all-time hit. Now, since I told you you are on a different platform, I cannot expect you to interact with me and give me your comments. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll request Dr. Shilpi Bhattacharya. She's going to be my test and practice student today, the language learner. And the activity that I have in mind for you is when you listen to this song, I am reminded of a lot of English proverbs that I know from my childhood, and I can relate those proverbs to the theme, to the story of the song. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to request Dr. Bhattacharya to be my learner today and to share one or two proverbs that she has come up with and how she can relate it to the context of the song. So yes, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. It's a great pleasure to be your learner, to be your student, ma'am. While listening to this song, I was reminded of two proverbs. The first one is, as you sow, so shall you reap. Because when the son said that let's play, so the father gives an excuse that I have planes to catch and bills to pay. So after that the son says, I'm going to be like you, dad. And at the end of the song, while I was listening, the dad, when he retired and he called up his son who got a new job and new assignment, uh, he said, I want to meet you. So he said that if I have time, dad. And then after a pause, the dad says, he has grown up just like me. So as you sow, so shall you reap was one of the proverbs that I could relate to while listening the song. And the second one, I feel, time and tide waits for none. Because when during the 10th birthday, the son says, thanks for the ball, dad, and let's play. And the dad says, not today, I have a lot to do. To which the son replies, it's okay. And he went. But I felt that on his 10th birthday, that day is gone. Maybe the 10th birthday will never come again in his life. And he is left with so many unfulfilled dreams. Uh, so time and tide waits for none, as you said during the introduction of the song, that he missed this beautiful opportunity when the child was coming on this earth. So the same thing, time and tide waits for none. So though these two proverbs are very different from each other, but somehow I could relate to these two proverbs while listening the song.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. That was so wonderful. I wish all my learners were as model students as you, so, eloquent about what you have to say, so focused. So, yes, like you said, the two proverbs that you used are pretty different from each other. They do not run along the same vein. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a few of the other proverbs that I came across. Even I didn't know they existed because come from different parts of the world. So I created a slide on the proverbs that I found, and I'll tell you why I created that slide. So again, I'll have to share my screen. This is one problem with the Zoom, to keep on sharing again and again. Now, yeah, I'll just, can you see the screen?
Yes, it is
Yes.
visible.
Okay, thank you. Now, see, this is what I, garnered from the internet. Now, when I started looking, there were literally hundreds of them that I settled down on a few of them because these are the many that I could fit on a slide. Now, the reason I'm sharing these proverbs is that not all students are as eloquent or, as forthcoming as Dr. Bhattacharya. So many of them will be reluctant to come up with the proverbs of their own, or many of them, just because they're new to the language, might not even know about some of the proverbs. So instead of expecting them to maybe come up with a proverb of their own, you can show them a selection, a list of proverbs, and you can ask them that you can choose any one of these proverbs and show why this can be applied and how this can be applied to the content of the song. So I would like to draw attention to this African proverb. It really reached out to me, which says that the axe forgets what the tree remembers. So the son never forgot what the dad, kind of behaved with him, how the dad behaved with him. But also, coming from Dr. Bhattacharya's point that the proverbs need not all run along the same line of karma coming back to bite you. It can also be something new. For example, two wrongs don't make a right. So why is it that the son had to behave in the same way like the dad? He could have broken the cycle of karma and he could have been good to the dad. So it shows that, you can always start something fresh. You need not be like your father. You need not follow into the footsteps of your father. Well, of course, it's good you follow, but you can, chart out your own path if you want. So yeah, a lot of different proverbs, can be applied to the song. It is very unfortunate that today we are on different platforms, so I cannot hear my audience, but in your classroom, when you're dealing with maybe 20 students in a tutorial, you can give the opportunity to each of the learner to come up and say something of their own. Now, learning a speech by heart and speaking will never make you a good learner, but if you can create something, if you can produce something on the go, that is what will make you a good speaker. So if you are short of time, this is just, as an additional thing I'm saying, if you're short of time, if the number of students in your classroom is more, then you can request each student to record their speech, what they have to say about the song, along with the proverb of their choice, and they can send the recording to you on your Google Drive, and you can listen to those speeches when you are free. So even that is a good way of, encouraging your learners to speak on their own and speak pretty happily enough. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here again. I am done with the second skill of the day, which is we are done with the listening and speaking. So you can guess that we are moving on to the reading activity. Now for the reading, again, I will play a ballad. This ballad is actually a gospel music. That means it is meant for people who go to the church to show them the right way. But they have used an informal word called hooker in the song. I hope people will not take exception to the word, but look at the content of the word. Also, I want to say that because my audience is a mature adult audience, I took the discretion of choosing this song. But if you're using ballads in the classroom, you have to look at the age of your learners and then decide which song is suitable for their purpose. So I'm going to move to the next song, the third song. Now, once you listen to the song, I will request my team to post a link to a Google form. Now, the Google form I have created in the form of a reading comprehension multiple choice question. So once you finish listening to the song, we'll post the link on the YouTube chat box. Please click on the link and then you complete the comprehension passage. Okay, this is pretty much done in the traditional way. Again, I will follow the same procedure. I will say 3, 2, 1, go, and then only I'll start. But before that, I want a confirmation from my team whether the screen is visible.
Madam, screen is black. It is not visible.
Okay, I'll try again. This is very, very harrowing. Is it visible now, sir?
Yes, it is visible now.
Okay, so just throw up a small prayer and press the play button. So here I go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'll stop sharing the song now. I'm sure you understood the story behind it, because based on your understanding, you're going to do the reading comprehension passage. Sir, will you please, post the link to the Google form for the audience to access it? And I would like confirmation from the audience on the chat box itself that you're able to access the form. Now, I want to say that the reading comprehension, I have made it a mixture of, factual questions as well as inferential questions. If you want, you can also put in a test for vocabulary. So it depends on you as a teacher, what you want to include in your comprehension, because, isolated words in comprehension and in context can also be, tested in the same questionnaire in the same way. It's a simple one, it's a multiple choice one, and I have not timed the quiz, so you can take about 2 or 3 minutes to go through the link. Oh, in the meanwhile, I have prepared something. I'm going to flash the questions on the screen for people who might want to use, watch this recording later. Sorry about that. Oh, somehow the video is not playing beyond that, so it's okay. I was thinking I'll post the same questions on the screen, but somehow my video is giving me trouble, so I can't help it. Next time I'll try harder. Sir, I think, has the link been posted yet? Because many of them have commented that the link is not there. Hello? Hello? Anybody from my
Yes,
team?
madam.
Has the link been posted yet? Dr. Gupta, if you can hear me, can you please share the link with the audience?
Yes, already shared, ma'am.
Oh, okay, because I couldn't see it on my screen.
10 बार post कर दिया मैंने. Yes, ma'am. Link तो मैं लगातार 10-12 बार post कर दिया मैम मैंने.
Okay.
Gupta sir, link is not visible here in comment section.
Yes.
Link is not visible here.
Can you repost it, please? The audience is waiting.
Gupta sir, kindly send me the link. Just now I have shared a link on YouTube comment. Kindly check. Gupta sir, is it visible there? Just now I have shared a link on YouTube comment. Kindly check. Gupta sir, is it visible there?
No, even I cannot see. आप पेस्ट करते जाइए.
No,
Yes.
no. The link, even I haven't been able to find it.
No, not visible. Still not visible. In fact, even I cannot see. आप पेस्ट करते जाइए.
No, no. The link, even I haven't been able to find it. Yeah, somebody sent that you can send it on the WhatsApp group that we have formed for the participants. That would be a good idea too. Yeah, right. Okay, it's come. Finally, it's come. Thank you so much. Gupta sir, thank you. Yes, so participants, the link is finally there for you. It is not a very difficult or time-consuming affair, so quickly go through it so that we can move on to the last song for today's webinar.
Actually, I have posted many times from the admin panel. So is
Yes,
it visible there?
I've already seen it twice. So now we are happy.
Thank you, ma'am.
After yesterday's system crash, I am so anxious I could barely sleep, wondering how it's going to go today, but I think we managed it pretty fine. Thank you. My technical team has done a wonderful job. Maybe I can share the soft copy of the questionnaire on the screen. Let me see if that works. Yeah, can you see the questions? This is for the people, maybe. Okay, it comes with the answers, but that's fine. Sir, can you see my screen?
Yes, madam, it is visible.
Oh, okay, okay.
There is a Google Drive. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so somehow the last two slides of my video didn't work, so I'm not going to be able to show you the answers in bigger fonts. So I have opened up my document here and I have highlighted the answers in red color. So you can cross-check, and this is mainly for people who will listen to the recording later, but those who have done it on the Google form will get your score then and there. Okay, people have started posting their percentage. So yes, that means you have done it. So great. Next, I'll move on to the last song for today. Now, this is my all-time favorite song because it's in the vein of a nursery rhyme. It was meant for kids. And the sad part about this song is the writers of this song, Mary, Peter, and Paul, when they published this song in 1963, they ended the song at the crisis, and they never resolved the crisis. So what happened is when people all over the world heard this song, they were very disturbed about the fact that, the cathartic effect is not happening after listening to the song. So they requested Peter to, give it a happy ending. So a few months later, Peter added a happy ending to the song. So what I'll do is I'll play you the song till the point where they first recorded it. And then the challenge, the writing challenge is that you will come up with your own happy ending. I will, of course, show you some samples. And these samples are collected from a challenge. Now, there was a world challenge called the Happy Ending Challenge for Puff the Dragon. So many people wrote in their happy ending, and they not only wrote the storyline, but they also changed it into the lyric form. So right now I'm going to share my last song. I'm going to share my screen again.
The screen is visible.
Yes, thank you. I will do the same trick. I will say 3, 2, 1, play.
Good.
Okay, so here you realize that the song ends with Puff being sad and, you know, him crawling back into his cave, and many of the listeners took it as Puff dying, the spirit of Puff dying, which is as bad as spirit dying physically, Puff dying physically. So I'm going to show you 4 alternative happy endings on the screen. Your effort with your learners should be encourage them to come up with their own version of a happy ending. So yes, I will take you through the first one. Okay, so here is happy ending number 1. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, it is audible, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. So the first one that I've chosen here is about a little girl who comes and revives Puff's spirit and, you know, allows him to play again. So this is happy ending 1. You can read through the lyrics. Once you finish, I'll take you to the next alternative ending. So this is about a random little girl called Mary coming into the picture. Now, the first part of this was to create the story in your head, how to end, and then you put them in the form of lyrics, which again is very, very creative and challenging to a learner. I mean, who wants to write a boring essay on how you spend your COVID, you know, cooped up inside the house? Instead of them, you give a challenge, you know, which will kind of motivate them to get more creative and come up with something new. So we are moving on to the next happy ending. I've started playing the video. It should move on to the next page. Yes. So this is our happy ending 2, where Jackie Paper's sister comes and revives Puff. So instead of Mary, this one has Jackie's sister coming in and taking over from where when Jackie grew up, to continue the saga of Puff. So I think, you know, I put it in some sort of a sequence here. Initially, a girl comes, Mary comes in, then comes Jayla, and then I wonder if you can guess what is the third one that I'm going to show you. Many of you might have guessed, I'm sure. Okay, so the third one, we have, you know, Jackie's son coming in, because Jackie's grown up, he's married, and now he has a son of his own, you know, Jackie Jr. called Billy. So this time, Billy comes to revive Puff. Just read through the lyrics, and then I go one step ahead. I think there'll be no kudos for guessing what is the next ending gonna be. Okay, so here comes the last one. This is Jackie's grandson coming into the picture to continue playing with Jimmy. So you can see how creative this song allows you to be. And with this, I will move out of the screen. I think that is ample time for my audience to read through the slide. Okay, so yeah, here's a beautiful challenge. Even if I find the time, I would like an ending to the song. So the trick when you're using the song like this to prompt some kind of writing activity is to stop the song at the crisis stage. When the song is at the crisis, and then you ask your learners to figure out a nice ending that ties up everything where everybody is happy. Now, I'm at the end of my session, but before I leave, I want to say something. Now, all the content on YouTube is copyright material. You'll hardly ever find anything that is not copyright. So recently, a friend of mine, he was streaming from YouTube onto a YouTube live channel. So from YouTube, they shut down his webinar. They stopped, streaming it. So if you're going live on a large platform on YouTube, please do not stream from YouTube. The possibility of them stopping you because of violating copyright issues is very high. So how did I overcome this problem? I really racked my brains to find a way. So what I did was I downloaded the song from YouTube. I did steal a little from somebody else's copyright, but then I modified it to such an extent that YouTube would not take exception to me using that song. So once I downloaded it, part 2 was I prepared the text, the lyrics in the form of a PPT in different slides. And then the next part is you go to a software and you convert your slide into a video, and then you superimpose the lyrics on it. And when you change the slide, you will have to, the time of when you go to the next slide, you will have to manually select and do it. So once you manually select that, okay, now the lyrics are going over to the next one, you change the slides. And once it's done, you can, the final file will be in the form of an MP4. And I must thank my ex-student and a very good friend of mine who has, worked for days to help me make these videos. So a big thanks to you, Vaishak, for helping me. This is all I have for you today. I hope the session was useful, and I hope, even though it's nothing new that I'm showing you, you will be able to use these kind of activities with ease in your language classroom and yet retain the spirit of some literature in your classes. Thank you very much. I believe the organizers have prepared for a question and answer round. So I would like Dr. Chandan Soni, if you have any questions from the audience, if you could tell it to me, I'll try my best to answer them.
Chandan sir, you are not audible. Your mic is on, but you are not audible.
Well, I think that's not a problem. I request the audience that you can mail me directly if you have any questions in mind. I'll be more than happy to get back to you. You can also, use my WhatsApp number. It is available with the organizers. Because we have another interesting session coming up by Dr. Chitrandankar, let us not take any more time to do the question and answer. I'm sorry about some of the technical glitches we are facing. We're all new to this. We've learned this recently. So with that, I will sign off, and you can enjoy the next session. Thank you very much, ELTAI Raipur, for inviting me for the 3rd time. I hope you're not too bored with my session, and I would like to say the same about the audience too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chunki. It was a wonderful session. We really enjoyed ourselves thoroughly. Very, very interesting, very, very thought-provoking, and really a wonderful world of magic. Now we shall be moving on to the next session. And to do that, to introduce the next resource person, I invite Dr. Anita Juneja. Over to you, Anita.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to extend my thanks to Dr. Savita Singh ma'am for giving me the opportunity to introduce our honorable resource person of the webinar, Dr. Chitrandankar. Dr. Chitrandankar, an erudite academician, poet, writer, singer, and translator who does not need any formal introduction as he is our family, as well as introducing him is like showing a torch to the sun. But still, as I am given this task, I will try my best to do justice to it. Dr. Chitrandankar is a very popular senior professor of linguistics with 49 long years teaching experience. Born in a small village of Chhattisgarh, in 1948, he traversed his journey of life holding many posts like a clerk in Krishi Upaz Mandi, assistant teacher, upper division teacher, lecturer, reader, and professor of linguistics in School of Studies in Literature and Languages, Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, Raipur. From 2001 to 2005, he worked as head of the department. He also became Dean, Faculty of Arts, Professor in charge of Students' Union, Pandit Sundarlal Sharma Chair, and Padumlal Lal Bakshi Chair. After superannuation in 2010, he served as Honorary Professor of English from 2012 to 14 in Guru Ghazidas University, Bilaspur, and then from 2015 to 16 as Consultant Professor of English and Dean, School of Languages in Central University of Orissa, Koraput. As a voracious scholar and academician, he has served to various dignified posts in Chhattisgarh and outside and administered various departments. He has produced 28 PhDs, 240 students have been awarded MA, and 22 students have been awarded MA in English under his supervision. He has 33 books written and edited to his credit. His 56 research papers have been published in reputed national and international journals. He has attended about 120 seminars, conferences, workshops, and he had presented papers over there. There are many PhD and MPhil dissertations in various universities in which researches have been done on his writings. He has evolved certain formulas for learning Hindi and English. Some of his books are prescribed in the syllabi of MA Hindi and Linguistics in many universities. He is a polyglot and can speak 5 languages like Hindi, English, Sanskrit, Odia, and Chhattisgarhi. As a translator from English to Hindi, Hindi to English, Sanskrit to Hindi, Chhattisgarhi to Hindi, and Odia to Hindi, he has helped many scholars and researchers of different disciplines. Apart from his academy, Dr. Kar has equal expertise in music. His songs, interviews, talks, symposia have been broadcast on All India Radio and television from time to time. His chintans broadcast on All India Radio have been very popular, and he is the first singer to recite the Ramcharitmanas of Goswami Tulsidas on All India Radio, Raipur, for about 2 years. In 2007, he was invited to the Legislative Assembly of Chhattisgarh as an expert to prepare the Chhattisgarhi Rajbhasha Vidheyak. He has been felicitated by various academic institutions and cultural organizations at regional and state level for his contribution to academy. He is a recipient of Chhattisgarhi Rajbhasha Award in 2009. He has been invited to many universities and colleges as chief guest and keynote presenter at state, national, and international seminars and conferences. His papers and books have earned national acclaim. There is a long list of his achievements, which cannot be summarized in few minutes. We feel honored to find such a versatile personality among us. Once again, I welcome him. Now, most humbly, I request Honorable Dr. Chitrandankar sir to address the august gathering with his views on the nuances of English language. Over to you, sir.
Hello. Am I audible to everybody?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. Should I start my delivery? Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My topic of deliberation today is nuances of English. Before I start my deliberation, I must thank you, the organization, preferably Professor Dr. Savita Singh, Dr. Shashank Gupta, Dr. Shilpi Bhattacharya, and many others who are in the organized committee. I remember Dr. Chandan Soni also, who has been my student, and I'm really happy to be on this screen to deliver my dialogue with the audience. Let us first know something about language. Since knowing a language is not at all knowing about a language. An illiterate person also speaks the language, knows the language, his or her mother tongue, but he or she doesn't know. In my view, knowing about language is linguistics, and knowing about how best to use it is literature. I put here similar opinions of two great scholars of different ages and lands. One, Sanskrit Acharya Anandvardhan of about the 9th century AD from India, and the other, M.A.K. Halliday, an eminent linguist critic of the 20th century from England. Anandvardhan says, शब्द शासन ज्ञान मात्रेणेव न वेद्यते वेद्यते सतु काव्यार्थ तत्वज्ञेरेव केवल. Halliday, what appears to me, elucidates it. He says, in quote, linguistics is not and will never be the whole of literary analysis. And only the literary analyst, not the linguist, can determine the place of linguistics in literary. Unquote. When Paul Valery says poetry is a language within a language, perhaps he indicates the same. Here, one thing must be borne in mind, that all languages are more similar than they superficially look different. Hence, today we talk of language universal, and so is translation possible from one language to another. Language universals are conceptual features found in all languages, which are also known as grammatical categories, namely parts of speech, person, number, gender, case, tense, voice, mood, narration, subject, object, predicate, etc. But their manifestation in differs from language to language. For example, we have two tenses in English, whereas in Hindi there are four tenses. And in Sanskrit, 10 tenses. Furthermore, semantically and pragmatically, in all languages, there are similar prepositions of statement, interrogation, negation, assertion, exclamation, command, request, persuasion, suggestion, action. Since every human language is a system of communication, as Block and Traeger's definition suggests, I quote, a language is a system of arbitrary vocal signals by means of which a social group cooperates. A language being a system of signals or symbols, we can never claim that whatever we hear or read, we get the same meaning of it, and hence there emerge nuances of language. One more essential cause of nuances is that in communication, as Alan Pease, an eminent body linguist, comes to a conclusion, the place of language is meager. Communication via words is 7 to 10%, via prosodic features 20 to 40%. Prosodic features, stress, pitch, intonation, juncture, length, etc. And non-verbal communication is 40 to 60%, which includes body language, gestures and postures, proximity, color, light, darkness, etc. Poetry is creative literature, a verbal art, the art of language. Poetry comprises both prose and verse. All critics accept that it is in the words of the author, in his choice and ordering and organization of language, that his worth shows itself. Furthermore, in poetry, silence speaks more than words do. The undertones and overtones, which are more intricate to fathom. Therefore, I propose that there are mainly two types of nuance, linguistic and literary. The former is surface level and the latter deep level, related to semantic, pragmatic, and socio-cultural. Surface level or linguistic nuances are by no means easy to detect, such as in English, letters and sounds are not in one-to-one relation. That is, one sound can be represented by different letters and vice. The so-called parts of speech can't be taken as one. Means they are used as different parts of the speech, and so they posit problems in their pronunciation and their use. For example, the same word present, when used as a verb, it is pronounced present, and if used as an adjective or a noun, it is used pronounced present. Close is a verb, close is an adjective. Use is a verb, use is a noun. Further, there are metaphones in English. Two or more sounds are in free variation, such as E and I. In, for example, either, either, director, direct, and E and A For example, economics. While deriving new words from a stem, the pronunciation changes. There are certain examples. Nature, natural. Nation, national. The same preposition is used to denote different aspects and relations of a noun for place, time, manner, purpose, reason, etc. The last problem which causes nuances is related to transformation of sex from active to passive, direct to indirect, simple to compound, to complex to embedded, has much to do with communicating subtle shades of meaning, which are often ignored, taking them to be synonymous. The fact is that there are no perfect synonyms in any language of it. That is, no synonym can be a substitute for the other. So to say, we strive in our day-to-day use of English for putting into appropriate words what we want to say in the best possible way on a specific topic. Nonetheless, our poets and novelists who are supposed to use English best of all also experience the same difficulty. In an excerpt from Dylan Thomas from Love's First Fever, I quote, we can see how a poet struggles, I quote, I recite, to twist the shapes of thought into the stony idiom of the brain, to shade and knit anew the patch of words left by the dead, who in their moonless actor need no word walk. Elsewhere in Out of the Sighs, he writes of the yearning to articulate the passionate feeling at its best. I decide, well, that enough to ease the pain, feeling regret when this is wasted, that made me happy in the sun. How much was happy while it lasted, with vaguenesses enough and the sweet lies plenty, the hollow word would bear all suffering and fear me of ills. Talk of vaguenesses, sweet lies, hollow words, with the implicit assertion that they are not enough, reminds us of Eliot's austere arraignment of degenerate expression in his spoken. Aside. So here I am in the middle way, having had 20 years trying to learn to use words, and every attempt is a wholly new start and a different kind of failure, because one has only learned to get the better of words for the thing one no longer has to say on the way in which one is no longer disposed to say. And so each venture is a new beginning, a raid on the inarticulate, with shabby equipment always deteriorating in the general mess of imprecision of feeling, undisciplined quads of emotion. Then we may ask, where from does poetry come? For T.S. Eliot, poetry is essentially a disturbance of the conventional language. For Mukrowski, in poetic language, foregrounding achieves maximum interest. And for Hopkins, poetry's current language heightened to such a degree, unlike itself, but not an obsolete one. There is no separate stock of words in any language meant for poetry. Rather, it is required to create the heard melodies as well as the unheard out of the words in his repertoire. As Iliad aptly says, that the music of a word is at a point of intersection. It arises from its relation first to the words immediately preceding and following it, and indefinitely to the rest of the context. Eliot calls it an elusiveness, which is not the fashion or eccentricity of a peculiar type of poetry, but an elusiveness which is in the nature of word and which is equally the concern of every kind of poet. Had our normal speech developed perfectly regular patterns, each and every language would have been invariably uniform, and as a consequence, language would have been a dead system. Actually speaking, such regular patterns are almost unimaginable. Being a man-made system, language threads hand in hand with human development. The infinitely rich complexity of human emotion and intellectual activity gives an infinite range of inflection and tone to the commonest everyday speech, the attitude, the feeling that determines the tone of the speech often determines also the way in which words are stressed as well as their rate of movement. Tone, stress, and tempo are fused. There are different ways or styles of saying the same proposition, which differ in the finer shades of meaning. These styles are mostly figurative in nature. Terence Hawkes views that figurative language is a language which doesn't mean what it says. Nuances of meaning are there in the use of figures or tropes. Since the words do not express the literal meaning. For example, we say in our day-to-day use, the foot of the mountain, the eye of the native. If a business enterprise fails, we call it a lame duck. Life is a journey is also metaphorical. Means there are more metaphors on the street corner than in Shakespeare. Roman Jacobson says that metaphor and metonymy are the two fundamental modes of communicating meaning, which according to Lecoq and Johnson are the basis of much of our understanding in everyday life. Therefore, Jayant Mahapatra says that truth is a metaphor, and Roland Barthes rightly puts that no sooner is a form seen than it must resemble something, as if humanity seems doomed to annul. Figures of speech enable us to see one thing in terms of another, and here a dictionary proves little useful for unveiling the unintended meaning of the text. When we say thinkers have their heads in the clouds and realists with their feet on the ground, we actually move from the particular to the general, from concrete reality to abstract generalization. Max Muller has said somewhere that all disciplines have really drawn to parity. When Coleridge, in the rhyme of the ancient Manila, specifies the feature green, he sees icebergs similar to emerald. I put the line, and eyes mast high came floating by as green as emerald. Metaphor is one step ahead of simile. For example, Robert Burns simile. Oh, my love is like a red rose would become the metaphor. Oh, my love is a red rose. But the rose in William Blake's poem, The Sick Rose, is a symbol. I recite, O rose, O rose, thou art sick, the invisible worm that flies in the night, in the falling storm, has found out thy of crimson jaw, and his dark secret love does thy life destroy. Some common tropes usually categorized as species of metaphor, patterning, and synecdoche. In metonymy, the term for one thing is applied to another because of its close association. For example, the crown for the king, Milton for the writings of Milton, Hollywood or Bollywood for film industry. In synecdoche, a part of something is used to signify the whole, or sometimes the whole for a part. For example, I don't have good hands to assist me. In addition to these, imagery, allegory, myths are also frequently used in poetry. As regards imagery, H.W. Longfellow's famous quatrain is apt to illustrate. I recite, lives of great men all remind us of. We may make our lives sublime and departing, leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. English is said to have a stress time rhythm. That is, the prominent syllables have the tendency of occurring at regular intervals of time. For example, my friend has arranged for my return. In Holmes' view, depth of aim impels the best author to write in a marked rhythm. Alliteration, consonance, or assonance, and repetition are used for musical effect. Rhyming is not poetry, nor is poetry mere rhyming, but to use rhyme for emphasizing and enhancing the intensity and subtlety of meaning, and thereby evoking the feeling in the reader is beyond the reach of the mere versifier. Few good examples are post couplet, no nature's children, all divide her care. The fur that warms a monarch warms the bear. Tennyson's lines from Lotus Stars, how sweet it was, hearing the downward wind, with half shut eyes, ever to see, falling asleep in half dream. Repetition is to emphasize the conviction of the author, as in Robert Ross of woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have my promises to keep. Miles to go before I sleep, miles to go before. Here, repetition seems to be more meaningful. The perception vis-a-vis. Imagination of the poet is inarticulate in the first three lines, whereas the last line, as the repetition of the third, is articulate, strengthening form. Allegory and myths are basically socio-cultural. An allegory is a narrative in which the entities, events, actions signify simultaneously two levels of meaning, denotative and connotative. Proverbs are mostly allegorical. Edmund Spencer's The Fairy Queen fuses moral, religious, historical, and political elements. Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels is an allegorical satire against philosophical and scientific pretence. In allegory, fables, also known as apologue, and parables are also included. Most common is the beast people. For example, Chaucer's The Duns Priest Tale. Parables are usually didactic but more cognitive. Jesus taught in parables. Levi-Strauss saw myths as a kind of message from our ancestors about humankind and our relationship to nature. In particular, how we became separated from other animals. Thus, myths mediate between nature and culture. According to Lakoff and Johnson, myths can be seen as extended metaphors. Like metaphors, myths help us to make sense of our experience within a culture. In myths, there lies a third order of signification, which is suggestive and which reflects major culturally variable concepts underpinning a particular world, such as masculinity, femininity, marriage, freedom, individualism, etc. Last but not the least, with depth and simplicity in speech and writing is very difficult to quote Edgecombe. Circumlocution or periphrasis gives the words a spurious importance. Spurious because the words exist over a kind of void, something in the manner of florid ornamentation or a facade on a building with weak foundation. A thing is not made more valuable by giving it a showy mask. Neither the lily nor the old tree stump needs gilding. When Tennyson refers to the village church and communion service as where the kneeling hamlet drains the chalice of the grave God, he is showing more concern for the surface attractiveness of his words than for the reality of the theme. The flowery language employed to impart an added dignity to the scene tends to destroy the scene by calling our attention to its own prettiness. Thank you. I have finished my deliberation and I invite any query from the audience if there is.
It is okay, sir. You can proceed, sir.
क्लियर नाही इथे करू इथे क्लियर नाही आहे
सुने ना पड़वा
नाही क्लियर नाही
हेलो
Hello, Chandan.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. It was clear. We heard you. Now, Chandan will be taking the question answer session.
Okay. I'm
It
happy.
was a very good lecture, sir. We loved the quotations that you put in. Footprints on the sands of time. Some of my favorite lines.
Yeah. Paucity of time is there, so I have to cut short.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Please ask questions if there are any.
Yes, sir. Chandan.
And if I can answer the questions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Chandan, sir, your voice is not coming here.
The lecture was so clear, sir. Hardly, I don't think there will be many questions.
No question is the best question.
Right, sir.
Right, let's see. Actually, I'm not, I couldn't see the chat box. But all the deliberations about metaphor, metonymy, and all that you did, they were really very good, sir.
I have tried to cover
You have tried
everything. I
to cover.
cannot say, but most of the things which create nuances.
Yes, and all that, all the figurative, all the figures of speech and all, many of them you've covered so very nicely, and with lovely quotations from the text.
Thank you, thank you, thank you,
Lovely quotations.
thank you.
Can
Because
somebody else see the question answer? I'm not on you. I can't see on YouTube. Anita, can you see? Anybody else can see the questions for sir on the YouTube?
Let me check.
Or Vicky or Bulu?
Hello, madam. There is a positive response in YouTube. Like everyone is appreciating. Thank you, sir. Very nice lecture.
so nice, so nice.
But no one is sending the question.
No,
Lots
no
of
problem.
appreciate. Ji.
We can keep in
Lots of
touch
appreciation.
later on. Later on, they
Ji.
ask
Many people.
My number is with them. They can ask. Hello.
Sir, one audience written for you, sir. Sir, Pranam, sir. Very informative lecture. Pramod Shukla from the Bastar, Chhattisgarh.
Okay. One of my students.
Ji. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Your good name? Your good name? Your good name,
My
sir?
name is Ramakant Prasad, sir.
Hello?
Ramakant Prasad, sir.
Oh, Ramakant ji.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank
Ji.
you.
Welcome, sir. Another
So
audience
what we
is
should do?
Domendra Chandravarsi. Valuable knowledge. Very informative and fruitful session.
He also
Excellently explained.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Madam, please.
Hello, Ramakant.
Yes,
Can
madam.
I step in? Can I step in for submission? If there are no questions, can I step in?
Yes, ma'am. You can step.
Okay. To borrow from Simran Verma, I am before the enchanted presenters and participants on behalf of ELTAI Raipur Chapter to extend gracious greetings to all. My deep appreciations to Dr. Chumki Biswas for her beautiful deliberation both in grace and generous content in the well-done mode of Magic Wand. My equal amount of appreciation and acknowledgement to Dr. Chitrandankar, whose presence is always an intellectual treat and treasure. I also extend my greetings to ELTAI for putting me here to restate the key points. Because these deliberations have been compact talks, yet the simplicity and knowledge synthesized well to make this signature theme richly functional. Dr. Biswas's thesis makes my summation robust due to the vital and pragmatic energy she infused during the process. At the outset, she established the need of good familiarity with language utility, along with asserting the literariness of creativity, engagement with takers. Her presentation, well compounded with aesthetically done slides to modify her content in far-reaching impact with immediacy and fun-filled teaching. Talking about the gap between language and literature, Dr. Biswas functionally and stylistically used the analogy of river. For more, body and soul interrelativeness and complementary alignment made sinewy purposiveness to her presentation. Her magic mantra made an easy way to proficiency with additional emphasis on implicit learning of grammar. To complement further, catching on to her activities has been a profitable and joyous run. There is always a fear of webinars going flat and insipid due to overburdened intellectual volume, but Dr. Biswas added the luster of playful learning. The ugly meme syndrome, my students are lazy, my students are not eager, my students are everywhere, but not here in the class, my students are habitually twins. Here is positively dealt with an effective remedy by rejigging our mode of teaching. Thank you, Dr. Biswas. Your magic mantra has been our investment in vocational capital needed for teaching during these unsettled times. Dr. Chitrandankar is widely known for his analytical, creative, and practical linguistic approaches, which has been persuading others to good learning. With his novel ideas, he is always welcome to any platform. Broad in scope, his deliberations are habitually gifted resources of easy learning. He is, like Dr. Biswas, known for facilitating a positive environment of learning. Elaborating on power of words and significance of silence, he emphasized the efficacy of purpose, environment, and need. His examples, illustrations, and quotes added sequential and logical character to the elaborate nuances inherent in English as linked language and lingua franca. His forte has fortified our understanding to use English with required Englishness in pronunciation and process. Dr. Kerr is an institution whose words are sacred to every learner, no matter what his age is. This reminds me of Jim Rohn, who said in one of his articles, "You are the average of five people you spend the most time with." And here, Sir has been our intellectual capital in making the best of the day. His sway from Keats, Eliot, Milton, Coleridge to Barthes and others have been a distinguished cerebral profit to us. At the close, I would say that I pay my salutations to his Sicilian spirit. I am also reminded of the words of Oprah Winfrey, who said, "Surround yourself with people who are going to lift you higher." On the note of higher curiosity, as Ye Dil Mange More, I invite Dr. Sunaina Mishra for gracing the closure with vote of thanks. Please, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. It gives me immense pleasure to be a part of this wonderful webinar. We, the members from the ELTAI Chapter Raipur, are grateful for everyone's presence and contribution to have made the session a successful one. I express my benevolence to Dr. Chimki Vishwas and Dr. Chitrandankar sir, who, in spite of their busy schedule and during this COVID pandemic scenario, accepted our invitation. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. The session led by them was very interesting and informative. I would like to express my gratitude to all the ELTAI members and participants, India and abroad. Finally, I would like to acknowledge the technical team for making this event possible and connecting all of us together. I request all the participants to subscribe to our YouTube channel to attend our future ELTAI programs. Those who are interested in ELTAI membership Raipur chapter can mail us on the given mail address at your YouTube chapter. Thank you and all the very best. Happy learning for the upcoming sessions. Now I give over to Simran.
To carry on some magic back home with you and cherish it as a memory. We have shared the link for the feedback form, which I kindly request you to fill it up and send it to us. This will help us in sending the e-certificate to all those who have registered and filled the feedback form. Your certificate, you will be receiving it within 1 week. Well, I hope you would really love to cherish some part of magic from today's webinar lifelong, isn't it? Then get going and fill up the feedback form. From all of us here, I extend heartfelt gratitude to all of you for attending the webinar. Do keep an eye for more magical webinars from ELTAI Chapter. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Hello, madam. Should we end the session or?
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you.
We can end the session. Yeah. Thank you, viewers. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, viewers. Thank you so much.